The message arrived on a quiet Tuesday morning at Luna Base. Admiral James Walker was drinking his third cup of coffee when every screen in the command center suddenly flickered to life. The alien transmission cut through Earth's most sophisticated encryption, like it wasn't even there. To the primitive species of Sol 3, known locally as Earth, you will surrender your world and accept integration into the Galactic Empire. Resistance is not advised. You have one planetary rotation to respond. The message repeated in 50 different languages. Walker didn't spill a drop of his coffee. Instead, he smiled slightly and pressed the base-wide communication button. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems we finally have company. Battle stations, but maintain passive scans only. Let's not show our hand just yet. The Luna Base crew moved with practiced efficiency. They had trained for this moment for decades. Deep under the lunar surface, quantum computers processed the alien transmission, analyzing every bit of data hidden in the signal. Within minutes, they had the location of the Imperial fleet, just beyond Neptune's orbit. Walker opened a secure channel to Earth's United Defense Council. General Thompson, Admiral Martinez, they're here. Permission to proceed with Protocol Omega. Granted, came the immediate response. And Jim, make sure they understand what they're getting into. Walker nodded to his communications officer. Send them the standard first contact package. Everything except military capabilities, and add the historical archives. All of them. The response they sent was simple. We, the people of Earth, respectfully decline your offer of integration. We strongly suggest you review the historical data we are providing before taking any hostile action. This is not a threat. This is a warning. The Imperial response came within minutes. Your primitively worded warning is noted but irrelevant. Our empire spans 10,000 systems. Your single world cannot hope to resist. Prepare for integration. Walker shook his head sadly. They didn't even look at the files, did they? His tactical officer, Lisa Brown, checked her displays. No, sir. They dismissed the data package without opening it. Their loss, Walker said. He turned to his crew. Begin powering up the ghost grid. Slowly, mind you. Let's not spoil the surprise. Around Earth and throughout the solar system, thousands of perfectly cloaked satellites silently came to life. Each one contained enough firepower to level a city, yet they remained completely invisible to standard scans. They were humanity's first line of defense, built from technology that the Empire probably thought impossible for a primitive species. The Imperial fleet was massive. Over 300 ships ranging from small frigates to enormous dreadnoughts. They moved with perfect formation, their technology clearly advanced. But they made one crucial mistake. They assumed that humanity's relative isolation meant technological inferiority. They hadn't studied human history. They didn't know that fear of alien invasion had driven Earth's technological development for over a century. They hadn't read about the World Wars, or the Cold War, or the countless conflicts that had shaped human military doctrine. Walker watched the Imperial fleet's approach on his tactical display. They were moving exactly as predicted, their formations and strategies unchanged for thousands of years of peaceful dominance. Send one last message, Walker ordered. Keep it simple. The communications officer nodded and transmitted. Final warning. Run. The Imperial commander's reply was predictably dismissive. You dare threaten the Empire? Your primitive weapons cannot harm our shields. Your destruction will serve as an example to others. Walker finished his now cold coffee and set the cup down carefully. They really should have studied those history files, he said to no one in particular, especially the parts about human warfare, about how we never stop improving our weapons, about how we've been preparing for this exact scenario for generations. He looked at his crew, each one ready at their station. Humanity had spent a century building up its defenses, developing technologies that the Empire probably thought impossible. They had quantum-linked weapons that ignored shields entirely. They had dark matter drives that laughed at the normal laws of physics. They had AI systems that could predict enemy movements before they happened. And most importantly, they had experience. Thousands of years of constant warfare had taught humanity lessons that the Empire, for all its size and power, had never needed to learn. All stations, Walker said calmly, prepare for contact. Let's show them why they should have taken our warning seriously. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and humanity was more than ready. The Imperial fleet moved through the outer solar system like a swarm of gleaming metal insects. Their ships were beautiful, all smooth curves and pulsing lights. Fleet Commander Stone watched them through Luna Base's quantum telescopes, noting how they didn't even try to hide their approach. 342 ships, his AI assistant reported. They're maintaining perfect formation. No electronic warfare measures detected. No scout ships deployed. Stone nodded. The Empire's arrogance was working in humanity's favor. Keep our stealth systems active. Let them think we're as primitive as they believe. The Empire's ships passed Jupiter's orbit, their engines leaving trails of blue fire against the black of space. They hadn't even noticed the hundreds of automated defense platforms hidden in the gas giant's many moons. They didn't detect the quantum sensors tracking their every move. Message from the Imperial Command, his communications officer announced. They're demanding we lower our primitive orbital defenses and prepare for occupation. Stone looked at the few visible satellites Earth had left in orbit, old communication devices, and weather stations. The real defenses, thousands of next-generation weapons platforms, remained perfectly hidden behind their quantum stealth fields. Send no response, Stone ordered. Let them think we're cowering in fear. The Imperial fleet split into 3 groups as they passed Mars. The largest group headed straight for Earth, while the others moved to flank the planet. It was a solid strategy for fighting enemies with 20th century technology. They still haven't scanned the dark side of the moon, his tactical officer reported with a smile. Our main gun remains undetected. The main gun, humanity's greatest secret. A weapon that took 30 years to build, hidden in the moon's largest crater. The Empire's scanners passed right over it, their sensors unable to penetrate its stealth fields. All defense grid stations report ready, the tactical officer continued. Ghost satellites are charged and waiting. Quantum torpedoes are primed. Stone watched the Imperial fleet grow closer on his displays. They were now inside Mars orbit, moving with complete confidence. Their scan patterns hadn't changed. They weren't looking for threats because they didn't believe humans could threaten them. New message from their command. Communications reported. They're saying, they're disappointed by our cowardice. They expected at least token resistance. Stone smiled. Oh, they'll get resistance. Status of civilian evacuation. All major cities have been moved underground. Defense shelters are sealed. We're ready. The Empire had no way of knowing that humanity had spent decades preparing vast underground cities. They couldn't detect the advanced shield systems protecting every major population center. Their scans showed only surface structures, empty buildings left as decoys. The Imperial fleet entered striking range. Their formation was perfect, their shields bright and powerful. They looked unstoppable. Enemy ships are charging weapons, Tactical reported. They're targeting our visible defense satellites first. Let them, Stone said. Time to show them their first mistake. The Imperial ships fired, their energy beams destroying Earth's dummy satellites with impressive precision. They probably expected panic, maybe desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, Stone pressed a single button on his command console. Across the solar system, humanity's real defenses revealed themselves. The ghost satellites dropped their stealth fields for a split second, just long enough for the Empire to realize they were surrounded. Quantum-linked weapons platforms emerged from hiding spots in asteroids and planetary rings. And on the moon's dark side, the main gun powered up. Their scanners are going crazy, Tactical reported with satisfaction. They're trying to reload targeting data. Their formation is breaking. Stone opened a channel to all Earth forces, Remember your training. These aliens have never fought a real war. They've never faced an enemy who could fight back. But we've been fighting wars since we invented the first stone axe." He watched the Imperial ships scrambling to react to threats appearing from all directions. "They didn't listen to our warning," he continued. "Now they'll learn why they should have. All units, execute Battle Plan Delta. Show them how humans wage war." The space around Earth lit up with weapons fire. Humanity's first interstellar war had begun, and the Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating primitive species. The real shock would come when they realized this was just the first wave of Earth's defenses. The first Imperial ship exploded silently in the vacuum of space. Its shields, thought to be unbeatable, had failed to stop Earth's quantum phase torpedo. The Empire's fleet commanders watched in shock as the burning wreck drifted past their formation. "Impossible," the Imperial Admiral muttered aboard his flagship. "Their weapons cannot be this advanced. They don't even have proper space cities." But more explosions followed. Earth's ghost satellites fired in perfect coordination, their attacks coming from angles the Empire's computers claimed were impossible. Human weapons simply ignored the Imperial shields, passing through them like they weren't even there. Back at Luna Base, Commander Stone watched the battle unfold. Status report: 30 Imperial ships destroyed in the first wave. His tactical officer reported, "No casualties on our side. Their return fire is passing right through our quantum shields." The Empire's mighty fleet was falling into chaos. Their perfect formation broke apart as ships tried to dodge attacks from all directions. They had never faced an enemy who could match their technology, let alone surpass it. "Sir," communications called out, "we're getting multiple surrender signals from the smaller Imperial ships." Stone shook his head. "No time for surrenders. They need to learn this lesson fully." Launch the dark space fighters. From hidden bases on Mars and several asteroids, Earth's newest weapons joined the battle. The dark space fighters were small, one-person craft that could slip between normal space and what humans called dark space. To Imperial sensors, they seemed to appear and disappear at will. "What kind of demons are these humans?" An Imperial captain screamed as 3 of his ships were destroyed by enemies he couldn't even track. "Our scanners can't lock onto them." The human fighters danced through the Imperial formation, their pilots using skills learned in countless war games. Each pilot had trained in virtual reality since childhood, preparing for this very day. They flew their ships with impossible precision, their movements guided by advanced AI combat systems. "Main gun is fully charged," Tactical reported to Stone. "Ready to fire on your command." Stone watched the Imperial fleet's largest ships gathering for a counterattack. "Show them what Luna Base can really do." Fire. The dark side of the moon lit up as humanity's greatest weapon fired. A beam of concentrated dark energy, powered by a miniature artificial black hole, shot across space. It hit the Imperial formation like a hammer striking glass. 20 of their largest ships simply vanished, transformed into atomic dust by forces they had never imagined humans could control. "By the eternal stars," the Imperial Admiral whispered, watching his best ships disappear. "What are these creatures?" Stone opened a communication channel to all Imperial ships. "This is Commander Stone of Earth Defense Force. You are witnessing only a fraction of our military capability. Withdraw now or face complete destruction." "Never," the Imperial Admiral responded. "The Empire does not retreat. All ships launch planet destroyers." The remaining Imperial ships released thousands of small missile-like devices, their infamous planet destroyer weapons. Each one could level a continent. Stone smiled. "Activate the gravity nets." Across Earth's orbit, hidden generators created overlapping fields of artificial gravity. The planet destroyers, caught in the invisible nets, were pulled off course. They collided with each other, creating a spectacular but harmless fireworks display in Earth's upper atmosphere. "Imperial fleet has lost 60% of their ships," Tactical reported. The rest are falling back to Mars orbit. Pursue at will, Stone ordered, but keep the dark space fighters in reserve. Let's not show them all our tricks at once. The battle continued, but its outcome was already clear. The Empire's mighty fleet, terror of 1,000 worlds, was being beaten by a single primitive planet. In his command room, Stone thought about the history lessons the Empire had ignored, about how humans had spent their entire existence fighting and improving their weapons, about how the fear of alien invasion had driven Earth to create defenses that the Empire couldn't even understand. Send a message to all Earth forces, he ordered. Phase 2 begins in 10 minutes. Let's show them why they should have taken our warning seriously. The real battle was just beginning, and humanity had many more surprises waiting. The Imperial Admiral stood in his ship's data room, staring at the historical records his scientists had finally decoded. The screens showed thousands of years of human warfare, each image more terrifying than the last. Impossible, he whispered, watching footage of World War II tanks rolling across burning fields. They were fighting with metal vehicles just 200 years ago. How did they advance so quickly? His science officer pointed to more images. Sir, look at this. They've had over 40,000 wars in their recorded history. Every major technology they created was first used for fighting. The battle outside continued. Earth's forces had pushed the Imperial fleet back to the asteroid belt, destroying any ship that tried to stand and fight. The Admiral watched another screen showing human fighters performing impossible maneuvers. Their entire species evolved through constant warfare. The science officer continued. While we spent thousands of years in peace, they spent thousands of years preparing for exactly this kind of battle. Back on Earth, Commander Stone received a priority message from the deep space monitors. Sir, the Empire is sending reinforcements. 3 more fleets approaching from different directions. Stone nodded calmly. Just as we expected. Deploy the mirror drones. Across the solar system, thousands of small devices activated. Each one could create perfect copies of human ships. Not just images, but full sensor readings that fooled even the Empire's best equipment. The Imperial Admiral jumped as his tactical display filled with new contacts. Where there had been hundreds of human ships, there now appeared to be thousands. Which ones are real? His tactical officer screamed. Our sensors can't tell the difference. The Admiral gripped his command chair as another explosion rocked his ship. His fleet had lost over 70% of its strength, and now they couldn't even tell what they were fighting. Sir, his communications officer called out, we're receiving a transmission from their commander. Stone's voice filled the Imperial command room. We've studied every type of warfare possible. We've planned for every scenario. Your reinforcements are about to learn why that matters. As if to prove his point, the human forces split into smaller groups, each using different tactics. Some ships charged straight at the Imperial forces, while others used hit-and-run attacks. The mirror drones made it impossible to tell which attacks were real until it was too late. Look at this, the science officer said, pulling up more historical data. They've been improving their weapons constantly for their entire history. They never stopped preparing for bigger wars. The Admiral watched recordings of human nuclear tests, of guided missiles, of stealth aircraft. He saw how each human war led to huge leaps in technology. He finally understood what they had awakened. Their ships are launching something new, Tactical reported nervously. Stone watched as Earth's newest weapon entered the battle. The quantum phase ships, only completed a month ago, could shift partially out of normal space. To Imperial sensors, they appeared to break apart and reform at will. Phase ships performing as expected, his tactical officer reported. Enemy fleet is falling back to Saturn's orbit. The Imperial Admiral received reports from his reinforcement fleets. All 3 were under heavy attack from forces they couldn't properly track or fight. Human ships appeared from nowhere, struck with weapons that ignored shields, and vanished again. Sir, his science officer said quietly, I think I understand now. Their warning wasn't a threat. They were trying to save us from this. Stone opened another channel to the Imperial forces. Your reinforcements are being pushed back. You've lost over 800 ships. Are you ready to understand why we warned you to run? The Admiral looked at the historical records again. Thousands of years of warfare, countless battles, endless improvements in weapons and tactics. And now all of that experience and technology was focused on his fleet. Perhaps, he said slowly, we should have studied their history more carefully. But it was too late. Humanity had spent generations preparing for this day, and they weren't going to stop until they had made their point very clear. Never threaten a species that had turned war into an art form. The battle continued, and Earth's forces had many more surprises waiting. The Imperial Admiral's hands shook as he entered the final activation code. On his command screen, a massive ship emerged from hyperspace, the Empire's Planet Crusher, their ultimate weapon. It was bigger than a small moon, its main cannon capable of destroying entire worlds. Prepare the Planet Crusher, he ordered. If we cannot defeat these humans conventionally, we will simply eliminate their world. His crew worked quickly, but fear showed on their faces. They had already lost over 1,000 ships to the humans' impossible weapons. The Planet Crusher was their last hope. At Luna Base, Commander Stone watched the massive ship appear on his screens. So they'd brought out their biggest gun. Status of the Quantum Shield Network. Ready, sir, his engineer replied. All ground-based generators are at full power. The network will cover Earth completely. The Imperial Planet Crusher moved into firing position. Its main cannon began to glow with gathered energy, preparing to unleash enough power to crack a planet's crust. Sir, Stone's communications officer called out. Admiral Walker is transmitting something to all Imperial ships. It's footage from Earth's history. Every screen on every Imperial ship suddenly filled with images. They showed humans fighting through their entire history. Stone spies watched as the Empire's crews saw ancient battles with swords and spears, medieval sieges, the trenches of World War I, the nuclear explosions of World War II, and modern combat with smart weapons and drones. You still don't understand what you're fighting. Walker's voice came through on all channels. We've spent our entire history preparing for this moment. Look at your screens. Learn who we are. The Planet Crusher's cannon reached full power. The Imperial Admiral gave the order to fire, certain that no planetary shield could stop their greatest weapon. The energy beam shot toward Earth, powerful enough to destroy a world. It hit the Quantum Shield Network and simply disappeared. Impossible, the Admiral shouted. Nothing can stop the Planet Crusher. Stone smiled. Activate the quantum mirror. High above Earth's atmosphere, hidden satellites created a massive quantum field. The Planet Crusher's own energy beam reappeared behind it, striking the massive ship from an impossible angle. The Empire's greatest weapon, their unstoppable Planet Crusher, broke apart as its own power turned against it. Secondary targeting systems online. Stone's tactical officer reported, ready to finish their fleet. But Stone held up his hand. Send them one last message first. The Imperial Admiral stared in shock at his burning flagship. Their ultimate weapon was destroyed. Over half their total fleet was gone. And still, the humans weren't pressing their advantage. Imperial forces, Stone's voice came through clear and calm. Look at your historical screens one more time. See how we evolved through conflict. Understand that everything you've seen today is just a fraction of our defensive capabilities. The Imperial crews watched more footage. They saw how humans turned every new discovery into a better weapon. They watched as warfare drove technology forward faster and faster. Your empire has known peace for 10,000 years, Stone continued. That's wonderful. But it means you never learned what we had to learn. You never understood what we tried to tell you when we said, run. The Admiral looked at his tactical display. More human ships were appearing from dark space. Their strange fighters danced between his remaining ships. Their quantum weapons could strike from any angle. We could end this fight right now, Stone said. We could destroy every ship you have left. But instead, we're giving you one last chance. Take what you've learned here today. Go back to your empire. And remember, this was just our first line of defense. The Admiral looked at the burning wreck of the Planet Crusher, then at the endless footage of human warfare. He thought about how quickly they had advanced, about their impossible weapons, about their clear comfort with battle. Finally, he understood. They had ignored the humans' warning, and it had cost them dearly. Now they had to live with that mistake, if the humans let them live at all. The real question was, what would these warrior humans do next? News spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Within days, every major species had heard about the Empire's defeat. The stories seemed impossible. A single planet had destroyed the Empire's greatest fleet and shattered their ultimate weapon. In the Grand Council chamber of the Empire's capital world, the High Council watched recordings of the battle. They saw their mighty ships fall to weapons they couldn't understand. They watched their Planet Crusher die to its own power. "The humans have sent us a message," the head counselor announced to the silent chamber. "They request to broadcast on all Imperial channels." On millions of screens across thousands of worlds, Commander Stone's face appeared. Behind him, Earth's defense fleet floated in perfect formation. "People of the Galactic Empire," he began, his words automatically translated into hundreds of languages. "You tried to conquer Earth. We warned you to run. Now we will show you why." The broadcast changed to show Earth's orbital shipyards, hidden until now by quantum fields. Thousands of new warships were under construction. Each one carried weapons that had torn through Imperial defenses like paper. "For 10,000 years, your empire grew through peace," Stone's voice continued. "But for 10,000 years, humans fought each other. We turned our entire planet into a fortress. We made weapons you cannot imagine." The Imperial Council watched in growing horror as the broadcast showed more of Earth's military might. Massive space stations emerged from cloaking fields. Whole fleets of dark space fighters performed impossible maneuvers. Weapon platforms that could strike anywhere in the solar system revealed themselves. "We did not want this war," Stone said. "We tried to warn you, to make you understand. Now you have seen only a small part of our strength, and you know why we warned you." On 1,000 alien worlds, military leaders watched the footage with growing concern. They saw how the Empire's best weapons had failed. They watched human ships ignore the strongest shields ever built. "Your empire will face a choice," Stone continued. "You can learn from this mistake, or you can repeat it. But remember, what you saw was only our first layer of defense. You never got close enough to see our real weapons. In dark bars and shadowy meeting places across the galaxy, mercenaries and pirates watched the broadcasts with growing fear. Many of them had planned to raid Earth after the Empire conquered it. Now they quietly deleted those plans. "We are opening diplomatic channels," Stone announced. "We will accept your ambassadors. We will trade with your people. We will share some of our peaceful technologies. But remember this day. Remember what happened when you ignored our warning." The head counselor of the Empire turned to his advisors. "How many ships did we lose?" 1,342 ships destroyed. A military advisor reported quietly. 817 damage. The Planet Crusher completely destroyed. And they didn't lose a single ship. On Earth, Commander Stone looked at his own reports. The Empire's remaining ships had retreated beyond Pluto's orbit. Their crews had seen enough of human warfare. "Sir," his intelligence officer reported, "we're getting signals from 17 different alien species. They all want to open diplomatic relations immediately." Stone nodded. Earth's demonstration had worked perfectly. The galaxy now understood exactly what humans were capable of. "Send them all the same message," he ordered. "Earth welcomes peaceful contact. But if anyone else ignores our warnings like the Empire did." He let the threat hang unspoken. Across the galaxy, military leaders burned their invasion plans. Warlike species suddenly discovered an interest in diplomacy. The Empire's defeat had taught them all a valuable lesson. Never underestimate the species that had turned warfare into an art form. In the Imperial Council chamber, the head counselor made a new law. Never again would the Empire attack a world without studying its history first. The warning had spread. The galaxy had learned, and humanity waited to see who would be foolish enough to ignore their warning next. 1 year after the Empire's defeat, the Grand Meeting Hall of Luna Base hosted an unusual gathering. Alien ambassadors from 30 different species sat alongside human leaders. They were here to sign what would become known as the Sol Treaty. Commander Stone, now Admiral Stone, stood at the main podium. Through the hall's clear dome, Earth glowed blue and peaceful above them. The same Earth that had crushed the Empire's greatest fleet. Today marks a new chapter in galactic history, Stone began. The universal translators carried his words to every alien ear. 1 year ago, we showed the galaxy why we warned them to run. Today, we show them why we prefer to walk together in peace. The aliens watched carefully as Stone activated the main display. Instead of weapons, it showed new technologies, clean energy systems, medical devices, faster-than-light drives that didn't damage space itself. These are our gifts to the galaxy, Stone announced. Peaceful technologies we developed alongside our weapons. Because humans don't just excel at war, we excel at everything we put our minds to. In the Imperial capital, the High Council watched the broadcast. They had learned their lesson well. The Empire now required extensive research before any contact with new species. They had discovered that several other primitive worlds had hidden strengths. The Empire recognizes Earth as an independent power, the head counselor announced to his people. We will never again mistake technological differences for weakness. The humans taught us this lesson well. Back in Luna Base, Stone continued his speech. Our quantum shields will protect trade routes. Our dark space sensors will warn of natural disasters. The same technology that defeated the Empire will now help keep the peace. The alien ambassadors nodded in approval. Many of their worlds had already benefited from human technology. Planets once plagued by energy shortages now had clean, unlimited power. Ships that once took years to cross the galaxy now made the journey in weeks. But remember, Stone added, his voice growing serious, Earth remains ready. Our weapons are still active. Our defenses are still strong. We share our peaceful discoveries freely, but our military technology remains our own. In deep space, human patrol ships watched the border of Earth's territory. They no longer hid their presence. The ghost satellites remained visible, a constant reminder of Earth's power. The galaxy knows us now, Stone continued. They know we spent thousands of years preparing for war. They know our history shaped us into warriors, but they're learning that we can be more than that. We can be teachers, traders, allies, as long as we're respected. On 1,000 worlds, alien children now learned about Earth in their schools. They learned about the planet of warriors who had humbled the Empire. They learned about humans' strange mix of warfare and wisdom. The Empire's mistake was ignoring our warning, Stone said. Their victory would have meant galactic peace through force. Our victory means peace through understanding, through respect, through the knowledge that war should always be the last option, not the first. The Sol Treaty was signed that day. Earth would protect trade routes and share peaceful technology. In return, the galaxy would respect Earth's independence and heed its warnings. In the years that followed, humanity's influence spread, not through conquest, but through trade and diplomacy. The same determination that had driven humans to create powerful weapons now drove them to solve the galaxy's problems. Pirates avoided Earth's trade routes. Would-be conquerors looked at Earth's defenses and chose easier targets. The Empire rebuilt its fleet but never again threatened Earth. Admiral Stone stood in his office on Luna Base, watching Earth spin below. On his desk sat 2 items: the treaty that guaranteed peace and the button that could activate Earth's defenses in seconds. We warned them to run, he said softly to himself. Now they understand why. And as long as they remember that warning, we'll all have peace. The galaxy had changed. The species that had mastered war had chosen peace, but kept their weapons ready, just in case anyone forgot their warning. After all, humans had learned from their own history, peace through strength was the only peace that lasted.